Just getting started with Shopify as an artist, maker, or handmade business? If so, you are in the right place. In this video, I'm going to be chatting with my friend and Shopify expert, Holly Marsh, about some beginner steps that you can take to improve your search engine optimization, SEO, on Shopify. Holly is the founder of E-commerce Arcade, where she specializes in leveling up your e-commerce game with Shopify, as well as Klaviyo for e-commerce email marketing. She's an illustrator and branding designer with more than a decade of experience selling handmade products online and in person. Hi, Holly. So you are a Shopify expert. So if somebody is just setting up their brand new Shopify in terms of search engine optimization, SEO, what do they need to do to succeed?
That's a really good question. And that's a common concern for a lot of folks getting started with Shopify. And honestly, even people who have been on Shopify for years. SEO is one of those things that can be intimidating, and you might think that you need to pretty much get like a college degree in it, and you actually don't. There's a few quick things that you can do to set yourself up for success, and you can always build off of this later as you have more time and more bandwidth and more budget. And the first thing is just remember that words are king when it comes to SEO. So I know that you can create all sorts of really cool graphics in Canva and put the text on it and save it as a JPEG. And don't do that. Please, please don't do that, because the Google machines and other search engine platforms, they can't read that unless you add that text as alt text on your website. And that can be like Shopify makes it really easy to go into each image on a product page and add that alt text. And even in the theme, which is what customers usually see, that's what your website looks like, there are ways to add that alt text. Alt text is one of those things where it kind of does a couple of things. So first, it's actually geared toward accessibility. So folks who are needing assistive devices like a screen reader, they can actually kind of read what is happening in that image. And so a good rule of thumb when it comes to like, well, what do I put in my alt text? Because you might think, oh, I'm going to go like the Etsy route and do a whole bunch of keyword stuffing, and don't do that. So just think about like what you see in that photo and pretend that you're on the phone with someone who can't see it. Like I'm talking like old-fashioned phone call, and you can just talk about what you see in that image, and that's what you write in your alt text. So that's a good place to start.
Yeah, alt text is so important for both of the reasons you just said, SEO and accessibility.
Exactly. And also just Google likes words. And so by using words to describe what is on that page, because you never know where someone is going to be coming from the internet and stumbling upon that page on your website. And it might not be your homepage. And in some cases, it might be your, what they call the Shopify collection page, where it's a category page. So you do want to add some words. I know a lot of SEO folks recommend 300 words, which is a lot. And so you kind of want to get the best of both worlds. A couple sentences will do. So that way, if someone stumbles upon your website for the first time and it's like your collection page or your non-home page, what information would you want to convey to help them get their bearings of where did Google take me? And what is all of this about?
I mean, so my background is in SEO, and as far as like 300 words, like, yeah, there's a lot of people will say certain word counts and stuff. I always veer on the side of like, what is best for both Google and search engines and people, right? Like, don't just throw in words, don't keyword stuff just because you think it's something good for Google, because more and more Google and the search engines are smart. They want things to have a really good user experience. So
Exactly.
Right. And make that information work for people first. Just like we were saying with alt text, you want people to be able to know what the image is, no matter whether they're using certain, devices to help them see that or not.
Exactly. And it helps them also get their bearings of, am I in the right place? Because if they are, great, they're going to stay on your page a little longer, and that's going to help you out. If they're not in the right place, they're going to bounce right away. And that's going to tell Google, hey, a lot of people are doing that same thing. Maybe the words on this page aren't actually what these people are searching for. They might ding you for that, and you don't want that.
And so for Shopify specifically, what are some of the other places we need to make sure to put those words, those keyword phrases that people are looking for?
Well, I think that when you're just getting started, thinking strategically about your website navigation, so your menus, is really important, because if you aren't very specific or you kind of use cutesy names to describe your categories, people aren't going to understand it. And even people who may be like a potentially really great customer may not make the connection often if you're using a cutesy name or a name that isn't commonly used to describe something in your navigation. And I'm also a fan of breaking out your navigation. So instead of just shop with a drop down, like if there's a way that you can spread out those categories as like the primary links in your navigation, that's going to be the way to go. I also recommend having navigation in your footer and kind of repeating those shopping links because, you know, homepages are really long nowadays. And that's just, we can thank social media for that because we're really accustomed to scrolling. And people get down to that page and then what? So if you give them some shopping links as part of some of the links available in your footer, it helps them kind of get back to, oh, that's right. I came here to look for sandals and there's that link for that again.
Yeah, navigation is so important. And like thinking about how people might commonly use that navigation too, or like thinking about how people are going to find things. Like I was working with one of my students the other day who has her stuff on TikTok. People are like really engaging with her TikTok posts. You know, she's having traffic come over, but she wasn't really having purchases result from that yet. But we looked at it and it's really hard to tell like what's been featured on TikTok when you just come to the homepage. And she's like, oh, I have a TikTok as featured on TikTok section. So you have to make that a little bit more obvious so people can find their way to what they're looking for.
Exactly. And you can also even change up the link for TikTok and create a special page just for people coming from TikTok to kind of funnel them in to just get to where they want to go. And that's where things like your social, like creating a social links page on your website is helpful. And also, I mean, when it comes to social media, I know it's really easy for all of us to like post a video or post a picture and just like write a caption. And sometimes it's a novel and then just move on after you've posted it. But sometimes you can actually take some of those and put them in as a blog post on your website. And I I always harp on clients all the time, please, please, please do a blog. And a lot of times they're like, no, I have enough to do. And because they think about, they think about the old days of blogging where you had to like do it every week and all of this stuff. And that's not necessarily the case anymore. Sometimes blogging can add more flavor to a topic, and it can also establish you as a subject matter expert to where people, like I have a client who sells dahlia bulbs and her blog has so many great tips for gardening. I'm like, I go there now. And she uses bits of those to post on social. And so it's kind of a win-win. She gets content for social media, but then also she makes all of the search engines happy by having lots of blog content. And you don't have to blog all the time, but by having things that you tend to get searched for and having some additional content to talk about it is a good thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I always recommend to focus on evergreen content for blog posts. Like think of an evergreen tree, something that's going to sort of be useful for a very long time, something that will be useful all year round. Gift guides is an example of a blog post topic that I often recommend. Like if you can create gift guides that are relevant to your products and your particular audience, that can be a great way for people to find your products.
Exactly. And you can even, add a few friends to that blog post and share the backlink love to help strengthen your standing in search engine optimization along lines of your link strength.
Yeah, collaboration with other small business owners who, aren't necessarily competitors, but they are your community, right? Like you can have like similar audiences and you can collaborate together. I love that. Do you have any other quick SEO wins?
I think that by using like your heading styles. So Shopify has what we call the "what you see is what you get" editor. Sometimes you might see it as an acronym, and I'm not going to say the acronym, but you can imagine it. Using your heading styles when writing a blog post, or if you're just using the editor for pages, is a really good idea, because what happens is it'll tell all of those search engines that those headings are things to pay attention to. So you can always break up posts using that by using images and headings to help kind of break up a lot of text. That also helps too, because I don't know about you, but if I see a wall of text and I'm not reading a book, my eyes just kind of want to glaze over. So by breaking up that text and kind of directing people of, hey, this is what this is about, so you can either skim it or you can actually dive in and read it, is a good thing.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Headings and lots of like line breaks. Anytime you feel like you've got like way too many lines in one paragraph, just hit that return button on the keyboard, break it into two.
Yes. Oh, and another thing is to also optimize your images as well. You don't want images to be loading really slowly, because that's another part about like SEO that isn't really considered SEO, but it is. And it can really affect your ranking if your images are humongous and they're taking a really long time to load.
Yeah, that's one of the like easiest quick wins when it comes to like technical SEO. When I would do SEO audits, when I worked with a marketing agency, page speed, like how long it takes a website to load was always one of the biggest pain points across all the different types of small businesses we worked with. But a lot of times it's just you have giant image files, like resize those images. They don't need to be the same size that they are if you're running an ad in a magazine, right?
Exactly. And also like Shopify does do a little bit of compression, but not a ton. And they do have recommendations for like the minimum size that it should be. And I know it's a delicate balance between needing larger images because of Retina devices so that they look nice and crisp, but also having an image that loads really quick. So there's a few tools out there that can optimize your images and strip all of the unnecessary metadata that can help with page load.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of your Shopify expertise, Holly. This is great.
Thanks, Mallory. Thanks for having me.